I call upon stage next Mr. Vishesh Agarwal, Vice President Crumbs and Reclaim Rubber Division AIRTRA, to make a presentation on the vision of tire recycling in 2030 in India.
Thank you, Robert, for a wonderful presentation. It's going to be very difficult. I saw the room. They were all listening to you because, you know, you're the only one coming from Austria and speaking. So it was pin drop silence and there's full attention. I wonder if I can get the same. Because everyone has spoken about EPR, I thought, let's do something different. And we will talk about how we can improve what we are. We have all spoken about how well we have done and what the government has done. But we will now, I want to reflect on what we can do next. And which one? So what's next? So in India, we have already made the shift. So going down 20 years ago, when there were no technologies available, there were dumps of tires around. Then technology came, reclaim, pyrolysis, scrum. We adopted to all these technologies, and today we are, it's a positive economy where you don't have to pay for disposal of tires, and there's enough recycling methods available. But that's not it, because like Robert said, the world is moving much, much faster. There's microwave coming, there is something else coming tomorrow, pyrolysis will be old, there'll be something else coming. So we need to be ready for the next technological shift. And to ensure that, so this is just an example of where Robert has already spoken about this, I won't spend much time on this, but the world has shifted towards pyrolysis. And India had already shifted. So we were a little ahead of the curve. Now we need to maintain that race. So to ensure that we do the same, so what we need is a very strong government policy and also a stakeholder support. By stakeholder support, we mean all the people who are involved in all the people in this room, they're somehow involved in this tire recycling industry. So we need their support in their own ways. So first of all, economies of scale. What we need is to do anything which is advanced, we need to have enough tires available. So we see that the average size of a plant out here would be around 1,000 tons, 2,000 tons is what they would be recycling. Any kind of a plant. I'm not getting specific into any technology. But in compared to that, when we go, let's say, to the model in UK, there's a plant which is being set up. It's supposed to be 80,000 ton plant. So 80,000 ton plant, I think it cost about $100 million to set up. So what they can do or what they can achieve, we cannot achieve with 2,000 tons. It's not practical. So when we go to a tire company and we say that we manufacture RCB and please buy our carbon, they will say that, I need 100,000 tons of carbon. If you are going to manufacture and give me 200 tons or 500 tons, I cannot waste my time on it. So they need sizable quantities and they need consistency. So both these things is why we need these economies of scale. So another thing about collection. So let's say compare collection in any of the states. Let's say collection in Maharashtra versus collection in Italy. So in Italy, you will find that there are about 17 large players who are established around the country who are collecting these waste tires. And the government has there they follow a tax kind of a system where the government gives them, or the Ecoex, which is the body, which gives them money to recycle these tires. So there are these 17 people. In India, we have, in Maharashtra alone, there will be about 500 people who are collecting tires. So it is very difficult to make laws and kind of control things. We are hoping that the EPR will be a step towards it, but we need to keep revising the EPR as time goes on to achieve and make sure the raw material is available for large-scale tire recycling units. The other thing is financial support. Now, when we compare ourselves to the West and to India, Robert mentioned that these plants cost $30 million. So a large part of that $30 million, we can say not a large part, but at least some part of it is coming by way of subsidies or grant or some kind of an incentive which is in place to ensure that there is a support to the industry. R&D support is what India requires the most, because in every kind of stage we are still on the lower side of the learning curve, which means there's still a long way to go. Whether it's RCB or whether it is CRUM being used in roads or CRMB or any of these things, we are very low because we don't have any dedicated R&D lab for doing this. Because JK is helping out in its own way, but they are concentrating more on their own. But we need a lab who's doing all kind of recycling stuff for tires as concentrated R&D fund. Some part of the EPR fund we had proposed as AIRTRA to be used in R&D. We will see if that is finalized in the final policy. The other things like the USA, some places they follow this model where the municipal corporation contributes, let's say 10%, that the state incentives they contribute something. So 20-30% of the funding is achieved from this model, and the balance is the entrepreneur brings in. So an example for solar is when solar started off in India, we had 100% depreciation which was available. So all the companies which were making profits, they were reinvesting their money in solar as an incentive, and then solar, and then wind came up, and then we did the same for wind. And today those incentives are withdrawn, but you see like solar is kicked off and wind energy is kicked off in India. So the same needs to be done with pyrolysis. Or even, and I've mentioned pyrolysis, but the same way also with other redeveloping technologies also which are there. In the government of India has some technology upgradation fund where they are funding new projects, but that is only at a very, very lower scale incentives. The other thing on funding is once you have clarity of government policy, raw material availability, these questions which are there, once those are answered, there will also be private equity funds and other banking funds available. Today, these question marks makes your project look a little uncertain to these financial institutions, which will then later on come up front and be willing to fund your projects. The next important thing is the markets. So once you manufacture these recycled products, there are a lot of people who is doing recovered carbon black, and they're trying to find a market for it. So what comes first? The market, or first the product? So if you start manufacturing and you don't have a market, you're stuck. So it has to be a balanced effort where both of these things are growing together. So let's say for market, so I'll say that I want to sell my product to, and I manufacture RCB and I want to sell it to JK Tyre, and JK Tyre will be like, okay, fine, where are the standards, what is what, I need product consistency, so where do I go? So that's why what happens is BIS comes in. So BIS is right now, as we speak, making standards on recovered carbon black, pyrolysis oil, crumb rubber is already formed. I think it will be out in 2-3 days now. GST is a big question mark. Everyone is trying to follow their own GST norms, because we don't know if pyrolysis oil is supposed to be furnace oil or diesel oil or some oil or what oil, so there's no clarity. So Robert mentioned that BASF is there and all these companies are there, but I approached one of these companies and they're like, first get clarity on what HSN code will you be exporting with, because if that is not clear, how are you going to export? So these fundamental laws have to be very, very crystal clear. The HSN code for export, the GST on local products which are available, like crumb has the same GST as what Tyre has, and the same HSN code for both Tyre and for crumb. One is a I would not say it's a waste, but one is a raw material and one is a finished goods. So how do we really classify all this? That's what needs to be worked on. The other thing is reuse of material in finished products. So let me give an example of rPET, and this is what I saw in one of the exhibitions or one of the conferences in Europe. The European Union or Germany or one of these countries, they said that Coke and Pepsi need to use 30% recycled PET in their plastic bottles. What happened overnight? Recycled plastic, recovered or recycled PET, let's say, was priced at $1,300 and virgin was priced at $1,000. So there was a 30% premium for this product. Today what is happening in India is we are always selling at a 50, 60, 70, 80% discount to things. So that is the shift we need to make, to go from discount to premium, because you are doing something which is good for the environment, good for the people, good for the future. So why sell at discount? We need to sell at the future, at a higher price. So when we say this happens, or how do we achieve this? So we achieve this by, enabling laws. It's not like a forceful law, but an enabling law. Let's say EPR. So with EPR, let's say these tire companies have to buy these certificates. Instead of buying these certificates, if they can buy recovered carbon black, and that works at an exchange, or if they can buy reclaim, or if they can buy this, and these kind of things also are helping in a circular economy. So this part kind of has to be considered, so that the true circular economy takes place. So once we do number 1, 2, 3, 4, we will achieve a jackpot, and we will be ready. This is one of the slides which I have taken from one of the exhibitions in Europe. It tells you what is happening because there was so much focus on pyrolysis. That carbon which is made can go into two ways. It can go into all these value-added products which is going on top, pulling, and then it is going up for all these things. Or it can go into cement clean from burning. Right now, what you're seeing is there is 80-90% that's going down. We need to convert this to go up. And to go up, what we need is the support of end users or end industries, like let's say Continental, or in Europe, I think Bridgestone and Continental has come up with a statement that by 2030, about 30% of their tire will be made with recycled material, either RCB or reclaim, etc. So that kind of an incentive is what we need to do in India as well, so that we can achieve a complete recycling. So just about AIRTRA and their journey towards the whole thing, we've been working with Niti Aayog, and they have actually done a great job. We have like a 200-300 page report which we made. There was MOEF involved in it, Ministry of, DGFT was involved, CPCB was involved. So we got input from everywhere. And now Niti Aayog has come up with a policy. And what Niti Aayog had first time, it's happened, that they have, on our request, they have directed BIS, here, BIS, please make these standards. Every 2 weeks, BIS gets a phone call, what has happened with the standards? They call up the GST, they have directed GST, please make a separate HSN code for CRUM. Please do this, please do that. So that part of Niti Aayog report was very good. So we are the government is taking care of what we mentioned in the report. So that report is available online. We worked with MOEF to draft the EPR policy. We had given our sides of the input along with ATMA. We had several meetings to come up with something sustainable and something which is workable in the Indian model, because there's a lot of things we had to factor in. There's a cash economy happening. There is people doing all kinds of things. So we had to come up with something very good. And maybe, the next presentation which we have, he is going to talk about how we are going to link ATMA or ATMA members with all these recycling AIRTRA members, and the platform he's created for linking this and how it can actually happen. And he'll speak about it later. Also, NIRI, to mention, they have been helping us with the whole pyrolysis process to grow the whole technology. BIS, I already mentioned to you. And now we, hope to work with ATMA in a much deeper sense. So there, we can complete this whole EPR obligation in a very environmental friendly way and in a wholesome way or in a circular way. Finally, just to conclude, what we feel that we need government policy, a long-term government policy. We can't have 3-year, 5-year policy. We have to have a 10-year policy which gives direction on the raw material availability, economies of scale, financial supports, as well as support from the stakeholders, which are the tire companies, to help us in R&D, help us to support us in taking these raw materials. So that will, I think, complete Vision 2030. we don't have any lack of entrepreneurial spirit. So, right from that panwala down there, sitting, and Mr. Ambani sitting on his chair, there's a lot of entrepreneurship happening in India. We just need these kind of stable factors, which are stepping stones to getting and achieving Vision 2030. Thank you.